Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Beautiful. It's beautiful.
It
That's
is.
all I can say right now. That's all I got. Thank you for being with us on Tea Time.
That's right. And have a nice day. Remember, be present.
Be present. Oh,
Actually,
goodness.
I say that, but that's been one of I've been practicing that more, is being present. And it's like I'm catching myself so quick as soon as my mind starts to wander off, or feeding an old story, or recognizing my mind is thinking that it's not information that's flowing into me. It's not divine information, or it's not my intuition. It's like, it's so easy when you're just present. And the more that I'm present, the easier things have gotten for me. Really. It's because and for me, it's just the same thing we've talked about before, the practice of, if you're driving, oh, there's a red stop sign, there's a blue car, there's a GMC, whatever it is. Oh, look how green that tree is, or whatever. So it's all those things, little things. And the next thing you know, those little things that I call the monkey mind, or the chatter, and all that stuff is going on, it's instantly gone. It's gone that quick. And it's like, I'm noticing I can catch it so quick. That's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
And you see things that you hadn't seen before, even though they've been there the whole time.
It's the truth. True. Yeah, because we were just talking, like, your room looked different. And I just had a client in last week that says, did you add more butterflies? Yeah, like maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember when it was, but it's been a long time. But it's like, I just know that I feel like we're going through these phases and we're noticing things more. I don't know. It's like, it's been there the whole time, but you just never even noticed it because you're so caught up in stuff. You can't be present when you're so caught up in the past, or if you're so looking forward to the future or trying to plan things, you're so not right now. So you miss out on everything that's around you, and including just visually, just seeing your space.
That is very evident. I'm up close and personal. I'd mentioned before that I've taken on the duty of being a caretaker for a friend that we adopted as family like 20 plus years ago. And her husband came home, and we're not sure the amount of time he will still be here, but it is a short amount of time compared to the amount of years he's been here, right? So, but it is a short amount of time. And the daughter has reverted back. She's in her 40s, and she has reverted back to the little girl and the trauma and the resentments and the anger and the irritation. And she is caretaking for both of them now more because she's right there.
Gotcha.
Right? I got to come and go with one person. Now she's got both of them, and she's being of service to both of them, right? And so those wounds are surfacing. And of course, she wants to run, right? We've all been there, right? We get triggered and we want to run. Like, we want to run so fast, but we don't run, we avoid.
Exactly.
We avoid the traumas, we avoid the healing. And I love how the universe works in our works with us and for us, because this morning I was listening to a Brendan Burchard podcast, and here's what he said: avoidance is short-term pleasure for long-term suffering. I don't think he didn't use the word pleasure, but it's a short-term fix that creates long-term suffering. So if she was to run right now, stuffing is a part of that running, stuff it down, not acknowledge the way she feels, not acknowledge the tears, not just keep avoiding the energy that's being shifted in her, the emotions that are being shifted in her. And she just steps it down. She leaves the environment and goes back to her family. She's taking all of that with her inside.
For her family.
And her family is going to be affected by that.
Yes.
Because she's going to go back to the family where she can, no doubt, she's going to be in her own environment with her family where she feels comfortable, feels good, feels loved. But the rest of it's stuffed down. It's still in there. And later, who knows how long, could be years, it will resurface again.
Yeah.
And it will come in physical ways. That's going to continue her suffering. I mean, this is what we do.
It is.
But the whole thing is like being, for me, is being a witness to it, because I'm still very much involved with all of them, helping out. Being witness to, I've talked to the dad while he was in the hospital and the conversations we had and the change in his energy and his voice, and it was softer and more, the conversations were more of ease. But then you bring him back into his environment where he's the dominant and barking and going back into his energy that was his energy when he was at home. And she is witnessing that his softness and speaking from the heart when he was in the hospital, that they had that time together. And then them both coming back into the energy of the home, and they both reverted back into old patterns, behaviors, habits, emotions. And now they're just, it's a button have heads, right? Because she's being triggered. He's his typical self. And it's just, she is so stirred up right now. And I sat with her last night and I just, I was like, sister, you're getting crash course right now. I said, I did mine over like a 20-year period. And I'm still doing it. I'm still healing some things, right?
Mm.
But for her childhood trauma, it's like she took on the advanced course. She's like, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to, not consciously, but no means, no, by no means was this consciously, but her spirit saying, okay, we're going to get you in this. We're going to get you in the middle of this. You're getting the advanced course. We're going to work through this. And you have this guide. Look, you have this guide readily available to you, which is myself. And I told her that last night. I said, I'm right here with you. I get to help you through this. I get to help guide you through this. I get to talk with you about this to help you heal this quicker. I didn't have that. So it's the dynamic of all of it and witnessing all of it. Like I walk in and observe something. I don't have any attachment to it. I don't have any backstory to it. It doesn't bother me. I'm just like, oh, whatever. He's having a moment. He's cranky, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But because she has the stories of still needing approval and acceptance and love, she's in the childhood stories. So it's helping her navigate through that. And she could say, you know what, I can't do this. Screw it. I'm out. I got to go home to my family. I am not putting up with your shit. I'm done. Right. But that would be complete, to me, would be complete avoidance. When you have the opportunity right now in the middle of it to move through it, I'm like, girlfriend, let's do this and let's do it together.
Yeah. Because she has such an opportunity to create healthy boundaries, because these healthy boundaries that she creates with her family, she's going to have with everybody. Because if this is in her face, you know that she doesn't have healthy boundaries. I just know, we just know these things. I mean, because it shows up, it always shows up. And being able to recognize it, but it's such a huge opportunity. And like you said, I've noticed things a lot lately because I feel more neutral about things, but I'll recognize things and I'll be like, I've been that person in the past. I've reacted like that, or I behaved that way, or I felt that way before. And it's just like, but I don't have any emotional attachment to it. I'm just witnessing and like, wow, I mean, I've been that person before. I've been in that space before where you can't hear anything else. And you can't see anything else because you got your blinders on, but
Right.
you just you're not even capable of hearing anything else. It doesn't matter what great information flows to you. You got the freaking plugs in, you can't hear nothing. The earplugs are in, that's it, you're stuck. But that's the thing, you're stuck, and it's by your own choice. And it's learning how to look at a lot of this stuff. And sometimes, like in her situation, it's for me, it's like sometimes you get out, take 5 minutes away, go outside and take a few deep breaths, ask what's the bigger picture here? What am I supposed to learn from this? Because there's so much, but boundaries, healthy boundaries is like a big, huge thing. Because it's something that I've experienced and I still experience. And then the need, something else that's been in my experience that probably sounds like hers too, people pleasing. Recognizing that you're people pleasing. We do nobody any good by people pleasing. We think that we do, but we are not. We're hurting ourselves and we're hurting them.
Exactly. Absolutely. And oh, I was gonna say something. It was really good. Anyway.
Let her come back. You'll remember.
I'm like, there's so
You will.
much.
I already know. So it is like a lot of opportunities. It is a big opportunity for her. And it is, I understand the run feeling because I've even experienced it, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago. Like I wanted to run, and then I'm asking myself, where am I going to run to? I'm going to get in my truck and take off. Where am I going to go? Because I'm still going to take, my ass is going to go with me. My beliefs are still going to go with me. My chatter in my mind is still going to go with me. It doesn't solve any problems at all. But besides to sit there, so it's like that's something to look at too. It's like, how do you look at things when you're in that space? Well, for me, like recently, it's being present. I can't look at anything until I'm more present. Because if I'm looking at it in the victim mindset or the child mindset or however you're perceiving things, you can't move forward because you're only seeing it one way. So it's like give yourself a break, take a breath, start looking around the room. Oh, there's a blue stand over there. Or there's my black scissors. Oh, there's my cards. I could do a card reading. Just be like the kid that wanders from one thing to the next because that's present. And then look at the situation, then ask yourself questions so you can get information. I can't go into meditation immediately if I'm pissed off. Can't do it. It has to be a slow process. Seeing it, remember look at, if there's got to be a picture of you that you've seen of yourself at some point in your life, remember that picture and then remember that moment and then start creating from that space. And then you can see yourself as a smiling, happy person. Then create. How do you want to see things, or what could you learn from this? Because it can be so easy. It can be so painless because it's so simple without all of our complications in the way.
Yeah, what I was gonna mention was that she is focused on her childhood traumas and being triggered by being in the environment and the conversations and stuff and the attitudes, right? What we forget, because we're in our own head, in our own agenda, in our own world, until you're aware of it, you forget. And even sometimes I still do it. You forget dad has stories too.
Yeah.
Dad's still living with stories he hasn't healed. His ego words will be, oh, screw that, whatever, I'm over it, I just don't talk to him, right? But you can feel the agitation and the anger and the pissiness, right? And she forgets that, or she isn't aware. She's aware because I've told her, but she forgets that he has stories too from his childhood and moving forward. And his body is in pain now with the representation of that. And so if Bev and I had grown up together and we have our stories, we're each in our own head, in our own world about, well, you did this to me, and don't you remember what mom and dad did? And and I have my stories, and Bev has her stories in her head and in her world. And so we forget that mom and dad has stories too. And before, like I think our generation um, is the catapult to teaching all of this, even though it did start in the generation before, like in our parents' generation. It wasn't readily available information because we don't have the internet. We don't have the access like we do now. And so our parents and grandparents and before that, they don't understand this information. They don't understand that they have child, or maybe they do, and they're avoiding it. But they have their childhood stories that they've suppressed that's still within them. And it just goes back generation to generation, generation. And they aren't receiving, if your parents are still alive or grandparents even, they're old school. They're in the mindset that this is the way it is, this is the way kids should be, and this is the way people should be, and right, there's these limiting beliefs. So their mind is not open to learning what we're teaching today. So friend dad is of that mindset. This is the way it is. This is, this is my house. You're going to do that, right? And very closed off to opening up to learning anything different. And so she is open to learning something different and listen to how I explain things to her and help her realize things and bring awareness about stuff. So it's you experience this too, because we've had the conversations that when you're doing your personal development and you're the only one in your environment doing the personal development and nobody else is open to it, you just want to punch everybody in the face and say, don't you get this? Read these books, listen to this information so we can all heal, right?
Yeah.
But if the other people are not savvy to wanting to learn new information or a new way of being or making any changes, that's their choice. If you're going to make the choice to change and do personal development, self-love, self-discovery, whatever words you want to use, that is your journey. And it is not your responsibility to make anybody else change, because you're not going to do it. You will not be successful. Trust us as we say, you will not be successful because they are not ready to do it.
Yeah.
And so forgetting, we just don't realize our parents and grandparents have those stories too.
Yeah.
And so he's dealing with coming to the end of his physical life. And who knows what's going on in his head and in his heart
Yeah.
of resentments and regrets and anger and things he hasn't forgiven or doesn't want to forgive and wants to hang on to those stories. She forgets he has all of that bottled up inside of him as well. Plus dealing with the pain of his body right now and the changes he's got to go through and the vulnerable position he's in, and the physical limitations he has, right? He's in a position, he's very egotistical, and now he's in this vulnerable place. And if that doesn't piss off an egotistical person, I will tell you what, you will experience it, because it does. It makes them very, very angry. For an egotistical person to go into a vulnerable space,
Yeah.
they do not like it, because an egotistical person is very controlling, and now they're out of control and now they're pissed. And isn't it funny? It's not funny, it's the way it is. She's a very controlling person. and she's feeling out of control in a different way. And so here you have two people triggering each other and mirroring each other.
Absolutely. And
He
blaming.
and blaming, pointing the finger. He, to be honest, he and it's pretty apparent that his healing is not going to take place until he transitions. And that's why I feel in my heart that it's important that she doesn't avoid this. She moves through it right here, right now, and does her own internal healing so that she can be more beneficial to her family and her children.
Yeah, because he, being the man too, you have a role. You know what I mean? You have a role to play, especially in certain ages where it's the man's responsibility to take care of everything. He was a caretaker to his spouse when he had taken ill. So he's like, now he's all back in that same place, which he doesn't. And I noticed even when I was sick, when you get angry and stuff like that, it's because you don't have anything else to give, but you haven't learned boundaries. You haven't learned to do for yourself because you're still trying to do for everybody else. You're still trying to please everybody else, but you can't. You just can't. And he's at a place where he can't. Even if he wanted to, he can't. And it's a responsibility for him because he's the man, so he's got to take care of everything, got to be in control. So like he had to, as soon as he stepped out of an environment, he had to be right back into that role again. Because that's what he's familiar with, right? That's his subconscious, that's his autopilot. And now she stepped into her autopilot. Which of course, as you know, you just said that it's really going to be up to her because she's the one that's going to make all the changes. Probably she has the opportunity to make all the changes here instead of having to transition.
Right.
Which in turn benefits her. It'll benefit her mom as much as that she can take on. It'll benefit her family and children, everybody. It just benefits everyone. It just flows down.
Yep.
It sets everybody free.
And then she has the opportunity to avoid it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I told her, I said, listen, as long as I am present with you, I'm going to bring things to your awareness. And then until you tell me, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to have these conversations. If you tell me that, then I will honor your position and I'll pull back. But here's the thing. Nothing's going to change till you change. And then you're going to have all this emotion and trauma stuffed inside your body and you're going to keep living, but it's going to show up later.
Well, it shows up in people. I've experienced that plenty of times. It may not be in the same level because you don't have the past with them. It could be a client, it could be a new friend that might, exhibit they might exhibit some of those same similar behaviors that the parent is showing right now, exhibiting. But the thing is, it'll be different. We seem to have a lot more patience with new people that come in. And they act the same way than we do with the people that have been in the situation. And even knowing, because a lot of times we have the opportunity of knowing their past. Like you said, we don't know how he was raised. He just knows that this is how he used to manage things, and she's the same. So there is such a benefit in recognizing how much you're being mirrored so that you can change, because there's an opportunity, because it doesn't feel good. Not everything that you're saying right now, the confrontations, the energy, all that stuff, like clashing against each other, doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. So why do we keep doing it? Because it's self-punishment,
right?
Self-sabotage,
Suffering.
Yeah. Not deserving. You don't deserve more. Well, we do deserve more. You don't deserve to put yourself through that crap. Would you abuse a child like that over and over again the way we abuse ourselves? Typically, no. Most people would not.
Yep. And her reverting back to the wanting to be accepted, and so the people pleasing, the take care of it right now, fix it right now, so that she can get the approval from her dad, and then turn around and he's barking at her again, so she's fixing it, people pleasing to get the approval. Like it's just constant. It's over
Yeah.
and over and over. And so the more it happens, the more resentment she's building up. And the more resentment there is, the more anger there is. And the more anger she's just going to explode like a volcano, like our conversation last week. She's just, and we call them meltdowns, right? You melt down and you just let everything spew out. That's being out of control for somebody who wants to be in control. So it's these hamster wheel behaviors that we do. We just jump on that hamster wheel. We go as fast as we can until we get slung off. We get knocked up, we knock our head up against the wall, and you realize you don't like it, but you don't do anything to change it. So you get back on that hamster wheel and you go again, get flung off, and we just keep doing it over and over and over. And then someday you watch a video like this or a podcast, or somebody gives you a book and they're like, those are your angels, right? Those are your angels in physical form saying, here, this is some beneficial information for you to help you change things that you don't like. And then you go, meh. Right? We have this choice. I don't need that. I'm good. Or it's like, holy hell, why didn't I have this like 30 years ago?
Yeah.
I was the holy hell person. I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I have this like when I was a teen? Well, there was a reason why I didn't have it as a teenager based on my story. But we got that choice, and we talk about that all the time. We got that choice. Either take the information and do something different, or keep doing what you're doing. But if you're going to keep doing what you're doing and you don't like it, that just means you're still feeling the need to suffer because you don't find yourself valuable enough to do anything different or deserve anything better.
We deserve to feel good. Honestly, we deserve everything, all the good things, all of them that we've held ourselves back from. I had. I'm sure there's still some things I probably do that I don't recognize or haven't seen quite yet, but that's why we have people to mirror us. And that's why it seems so much to her right now. I would probably assume that she's had some asking for things to be different, things for life to be different, you know what I mean? And sometimes initially, we've talked about before, it's like you're almost being bombarded with all this information, but you just take one thing at a time, just one moment at a time. Gosh, why am I acting like this? I mean, seriously, I would catch myself like, why am I even reacting like this? What is my freaking problem? Like, what is it?
So here's the way I heard, because that makes you sound like you're a bad person, right? I used to ask those same questions too. What is wrong with me? Well, that is telling me and indicating I'm a bad person, like I've done something wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I heard a teacher say, how about you just say, isn't that interesting that I'm showing up this way?
Nice.
And it's this exact conversation we had last night. And I told her that. I said, he's going to say something, you're going to get triggered, remembering that it's the little girl inside getting triggered. It's not the adult person getting triggered. And then you stop. It just takes a second to go, isn't it interesting I'm showing up this way?
Yeah. Yeah, because my conversation now is there's nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. I have ways that I've reacted out of habit. That's all it is. And I don't have to continue doing that.
So true. But it helps us shift our brain, the way our brain thinks.
Yeah.
Because when we say, what's wrong with me? Now we're looking for the problem.
Exactly. And you can't find a solution in a problem.
So if I say, isn't it interesting I'm showing up this way? Then I'm acknowledging, I'm taking responsibility of how I'm showing up, how I'm feeling, and the stories I'm telling. And actually, the stories have nothing to do with the present moment.
Zero. And those stories usually have been modified by your own doing, like it's changed. You got and you put any emotion into it, like an anger or a hurt or anything else, you just made it even more of a story.
Yep.
We change things so much, and then after a while, the story is so blown out of proportion from what actually happened.
The fish was this big, right?
Yeah, when it started, it was this big.
It was a little
You know,
minnow, but it was this big.
That's right. But it's true. And I've caught myself in those same, same thoughts. And it's like it's up to me to nip that in the bud right now. It's up to me to acknowledge, wait a minute, why am I even having this conversation? It's so silly. Like there's so many things I could be thinking of right now. Does that even feel good? No, it doesn't.
And here she is, caretaking, having the stories getting triggered. So you have her. It's no different than what I said earlier with me stepping in. You have a nurse come in, right? Same person, talking the same way, having the same attitude, being disgruntled and irritated, vulnerable, egotistical. The nurse doesn't have any attachments. She just thinks, oh, well, here's another patient who's going through some stuff, right? She sees the side that I see from a medical standpoint. Like
Yeah.
she knows, physically they're suffering, they're in pain, they're having all these experiences internally, and
Scared.
she's scared, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so she's addressing it from the medical standpoint, and she can have the compassion. I can have the compassion because I can see the emotional standpoint. My friend is stuck in the stories. She can't see all of that.
Yeah.
She can't see it in the moment, right? She hasn't trained herself or programmed herself to be able to see it in the moment because she's so overwhelmed with the stories and everything that's going on. It's when it's quiet and we can sit and talk and have a conversation. So in the midst of things, I tell her, breathe. I give her a hug. There's no coaching other than that, because she is not in a space to receive it and process it and implement it. But I can tell her to breathe, take a breath, and I can give her a hug. Because my energy affects her energy.
Yes.
And I said, here's the deal. Even if you don't need me to come over and do anything, you need me to come over and shift the energy. So I'll be over later. I already went over once today. I'll be back over, right? I'm going to go pop in periodically because with my energy and the way I am, I can shift the energy of them. I can sit here and do it. I can sit right here and do it.
Yeah.
But actually being physically present is even more powerful. Because I'm just bringing all of this with me.
Yeah. What makes me think of some of the stuff too, when we're going through these shifts like that, because she's just going through a huge growth potential. It's self-care, taking that time to go take a bath, taking that time to go sit outside for 5 minutes. They're just stopping for a minute and taking some deep breaths. For me, sometimes it's easier. We've talked about before, seeing that person as a child too, seeing him as a little boy. He's a scared, hurt little boy.
Yeah. And I get it. You just don't want to see your parents like that. You don't want to see them through those eyes.
But every soul has a child though. So it's like, so when we can see them in the childlike state and joke, and then she can shift everything. So she's got an opportunity. She can learn from you, take that and shift over, because you're going to be light about things. You're going to joke or laugh about things. You're not going to go in there all serious. And it helps to make things light there. And it's an opportunity for her to play with it, to be silly, or to be, oh, I'll get it taken care of. Just the same way you handled was it the chips, the Ritz. Just the same way you handled the Ritz. This is the way, okay, well, I'll get to it. This is how it's going to happen, so you're not running all over the place and feel frazzled. It's just that self-care, taking the time for self. Because you can do so much more with people. And then that helps her grow too. It's Yeah, and then her child is the daughter, the little girl that's afraid that she's gonna lose her parents, you know?
Yep.
That's a lot of stuff going on, but we react. A lot of people react in those situations instead of seeing it for all the. There's so much that to be taken from that, so much to memories to be created from that. Like pull out the freaking family album, look at some pictures, or find. That was one thing for me after Jim had transitioned. When the kids pulled out all these pictures, because I had gotten into a story. I had gotten into a story about how I saw things, and it seemed like we hadn't been happy for a long time, and everything else. But started looking at all those pictures. It's like we had freaking good times, and so that's where pictures are beneficial. So maybe her pulling out a family album and seeing things a little bit differently, it just helps to widen our perception, I guess.
Well, I think for the first time in her life with her dad, she saw the loving, caring, soft side of him in the hospital. But but both of them were in a different environment.
Yeah, no demands were on him for anything. You know what I mean? No expectations for
Nothing.
anything.
And she could just sit there with him. She didn't have to be the caretaker and I mean, she did some stuff for his medical things, but not having to be the full-time caretaker like she is right now. And I told her, I said, listen, you had those moments with your dad that you love so much. You want to hold on to that. It doesn't matter if it was in a hospital. You want to hold on to that moment or moments. Let those dominate your thought process instead of what's happening right now. And we do. We get so wrapped up. Here we go, wrapped up in those stories. We forget. It's what we do. And it's not that you're right or wrong. And it's not that they're right or wrong. This is how humans operate. And you absolutely have the choice to move through it. It feels like a shitstorm in the moment. Like she feels like she's just in this shitstorm and she just wants to run. So you absolutely have that choice. And Bev and we're not here to judge you if you choose to make that choice.
Mm-mm.
You can avoid it all you want. You can avoid it all you want. That is your choice. It will show up again and
Yeah.
again and again. So avoidance isn't a healthy avenue. Avoidance avenue is not a healthy road to take. And it took me a while and I mean there were things that I avoided in my healing process. Meditation was one of them. I was like, no, I'm meditating. I can't do it. Right. That was like one of the first things I was learning about and I avoided it. It's like, yeah, I can't do that. So, but avoidance creates long-term suffering. And so you got to make it the choice. Do you want to avoid it and run? Or do you want to walk through it and grow and be empowered and have so much more wisdom? Like, I mean, it's like, the transition of a superhero, right? Their human clothes come off and their superhero costumes on, and that chest is open and strong. And I mean, your heart center is so much stronger. And it's like, come, bring it, bring it, right? I can handle this now. But until you walk through that and get to the other side, you're going to still have your head down, your shoulders slumped, feel heavy emotionally, and still just put that cloak of avoidance on and then still be in that state of blame. So, like, it's not easy choice. Don't get me. I
No,
understand
no.
because I know what I experienced in my own healing process, and I went through it kicking and screaming. I was like, ah. But I'm so thankful I did. So thankful.
As am I.
And nobody made me do it. Nobody talked me into it. It was
Oh,
just
no.
reading book after book after book and listening to teacher after teacher after teacher, and just like, I want what they have. They're enjoying life. They look happy. They look like they're having a life of ease, right? I was like, I want that. How do I get that? I have to do the work. They can't
Yeah.
make me.
It's a desire for that change. It was the same for me. So I totally, and mine wasn't a whole bunch of books before then. It was actually meeting you, Sisters Gallery, and then it transformed into, it's just you and I having conversations all the time. So it's just, I would recognize, oh yeah, I could do that. Just little things, and then start reading books.
Yeah. Just a little bit. If it's just listening to podcasts, whether it's ours or somebody else's, something that adds value to your life that's going to help you grow.
Yes.
If it's keeping you stuck, including those people in your life, if they're keeping you stuck or helping keep you stuck in your life, and you desire a change, you're got to change your circle of people. And that might mean be you and a podcast of people who are going to add value. That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't a podcast at the time, but the books was at the time. The authors, those were the people in my circle. And I kind of isolated myself from the people I was hanging out with because they were not adding value to myself and to me, and I knew I would revert back into that person, and I didn't want to be that person anymore. And I had to do something different. So I put myself in the circle of authors and teachers that could help me. But now we have podcasts and YouTube and all this other stuff. Utilize it.
Yes.
If you desire that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Beverly, for being here and having these conversations.
Thank you. I love them.
I do too. I love them every week. And we, of course, just hope in our hearts that we are providing beneficial information for you as well. And you may know people who would benefit from this information. So we ask that you let your friends know about us. So you also can leave us comments and questions, and we can respond to those. And you can reach out to us if you'd like. You can email us at Amie, AMIE, and AND Bev, BEV at gmail.com, Amie and Bev at gmail.com. So with that, thank you for being with us and taking the time to listen to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. We appreciate and honor your time. And it is always our goal to bring forth information that is going to help you grow and move you in a different direction if you so desire.
Absolutely. Because it helps us as well. So thank you.
Man. Yeah, for sure. All right, my friends. Thank you. Have a great week, and we'll be back.
Okay. See you later.